Number 31, in order for a question to qualify as a research question, the researcher must be able to A, make observations and then analyze these to find an answer, B, develop metaphysical answers based on concise statements of belief, C, propose several answers to the question that are equally acceptable, D, identify value statements in the question that reflect current societal norms. Okay, the correct answer is letter A, make observations and then analyze these to find an answer. In order for a question to qualify as a research question, the researcher must be able to make observations and then analyze these observations to find an answer. So, what makes a question a research question? What is the main requirement? Okay? A research question allows you to gather data about it. In other words, it allows you to make observations. So the correct answer is letter A, make observations and then analyze these to find an answer. In other words, it is researchable. Now, if you can gather data about it, it means that that particular question is researchable, then it is a good research question. Number 32. Cleanliness is still at a discount in many parts of the country. What does the underlined phrase mean? The underlined phrase here is at a discount. A, believed. B, attended to. C, not to be valued fully. D, valued fully. This is a let question. The correct answer is letter C, not to be valued fully. At a discount means it is an idiomatic expression which means not valued well. So cleanliness is still not valued well in many parts of the country. It's still at a discount in many parts of the country. Next, number 33. If it rains, I will stay at home. The underlined words, if it rains, form a free clause, B, a subordinate clause, C, a main clause, D, an independent clause. The correct answer is subordinate clause. If it rains, it is a subordinate clause. Okay, let's analyze. What is a clause? A clause is a part of a sentence that contains a subject and a verb. Okay, so in this sentence, if it rains, I will stay at home. There are two clauses here. The first clause is if it rains, and the second clause is I will stay at home. It says a clause is a part of a sentence that contains a subject and a verb. So let's analyze clause number 1. If it rains, the subject is it. The verb is rains. Clause number 2, the subject is I. The verb is will stay. So you have two clauses here. So when it rains, I will stay at home. When it rains is the first clause, and I will stay at home is the second clause. Now, there are two kinds of clauses. One is the main clause or independent clause, and the second one is the subordinate clause or dependent clause. Again, what are the two kinds of clauses? The main clause or independent clause and the subordinate clause or independent clause. Main clause or independent clause expresses a complete meaning. So again, let's go back to the sentence. If it rains, I will stay at home. Which of these clauses has a complete meaning? If it rains or I will stay at home? Of course, I will stay at home has a complete meaning. In other words, this is the main clause or this is the independent clause. I will stay at home. It can stand alone as a sentence. And subordinate clause or independent clause does not express a complete thought. So which of these two clauses does not express a complete thought? If it rains, or I will stay at home. Of course, if it rains. Therefore, the answer to the question, the underlined words form, if it rains, a subordinate clause or dependent clause. Now, let's go to question number 34. She is generous to a fault. What does the underlined phrase mean? The underlined phrase is to a fault. A, seldom. B, rarely. C, infrequent. D, excessively. The correct answer is excessively. To a fault, excessively. It means that she is excessively generous. No? Generous to a fault. To a fault is an idiom which means to an extreme or excessive degree. And it has a negative connotation. Now let's go to question number 35. The value of the Associated Press style book is that it A, promotes consistency in news writing and reduces errors. B, tells reporters what constitutes fine writing and what does not. C, gives reporters a template for all news stories they may write. And D, guides reporters in assuring that all stories have a uniform political slant. Okay, the correct answer is promotes consistency in news writing and reduces errors. The value of the Associated Press style book is that it promotes consistency in news writing and reduces errors. What is AP style? Associated Press style book is most commonly used manual for writers and communicators across the world. It contains definitions and references on the correct usage of words, as well as punctuation, abbreviations, and capitalization. What is a style book? A style book is a set of guidelines that will define how a publication, website, or blog makes decisions regarding typography, formatting, grammar, spelling, and more. A publication follows a style book so that there is consistency as far as language use is concerned. So the value of the Associated Press style book is that it promotes consistency in news writing and reduces errors. For example, the Philippine Daily Inquirer. The PDI, or the Philippine Daily Inquirer, follows a style book, and all the writers use this when they write their articles. So consistency. For example, there is a question whether to use or not to use the Oxford comma. So if you are confused, you check your publication's style book. For example here, he loves apples, comma, oranges, and grapes. Or he loves apples, oranges, he loves apples, comma, oranges, comma, and grapes. So the second sentence here, he loves apples, comma, oranges, comma, and grapes. The second sentence here employs the use of the Oxford comma. So if you are confused, if you are a writer of the Philippine Daily Inquirer and you are confused whether to use the Oxford comma or not, then check your publication's style book because that will serve as your guide. Okay? Now let's go to question number 36. She isn't joining the game. A, is she? B, isn't she? C, does she? D, aren't she? So this is a tag question. This is a question on tag question. A tag question is a special construction in English. It is a statement followed by a mini question. We use tag questions to ask for confirmation. A tag question is asked not to get information, but to ask for confirmation. Tag questions mean something like, is that right? Or do you agree? She's beautiful, isn't she? Do you agree? Is that right? So tag questions are very common in English. So let's study the rules. What do the rules say? A positive statement, a positive statement requires a negative tag question. So she is joining, that's positive. So the tag question should be negative, isn't she? And a negative statement requires a positive tag question. She isn't joining. That is a negative statement. So the tag question should be positive. Is she? So in the question here, she isn't joining the game. So this is a negative statement. So the tag question should be in the positive form. She isn't joining, is she? So the correct answer is letter A. Question number 37. Research on kindergarten indicates that kindergarten promotes readiness and achievement in the first and second grade, A. And this effect is particularly clear for language skills as opposed to mathematical or social skills, B. These effects disappear by the third or fourth grade. C. And the positive effects of kindergarten persist until the middle school years. And D. If the child attends a full as opposed to a half-day kindergarten. Okay, the correct answer is letter B, but these effects disappear by the third or fourth grade, right? The kindergarten promotes readiness and achievement in the first and second grade, but these effects disappear by the third or fourth grade. Why reading by third grade matters? Why? What does research say? Reading proficiently by end of third grade is the most important predictor of high school graduation and career success. According to one national study, students who are behind in reading by the end of third grade are 4 times more likely to not graduate from high school, thus setting them up for a life filled with economic and social challenges. So, the correct answer is letter B, but these effects disappear by the third or fourth grade. Question number 38. During seminars or lecture forums, you should clarify what you did not understand by A. Raising your hand to call the attention of the speaker or lecturer. B. Taking note of the particular item and surfing it on the web. C. Waiting for the open forum to politely ask questions. And D. Asking the person seated next to you. The correct answer is letter C. Waiting for the open forum to politely ask questions. If you do not understand the speaker, or if you have confusions, you wait for the open forum to politely ask questions. Usually, the organizers and the speakers give time for questions during the open forum. That is when you ask questions. 39. The first pens were made of A. Plastic, B. Wood, C. Hollow reeds, D. Metal. The correct answer is letter C. Hollow reeds. The first pens were made of hollow reeds. To write upon parchment, the Egyptians created a reed pen. These early pens were fashioned from the hollow tubular stems of marsh grasses or reeds, especially bamboo plant. Okay? Hollow reeds. Okay, number 40. In the poem Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, Robert Frost used the line, and my little horse must think it queer. Oh, his horse has the ability to think something is queer. Which of the following figures of speech is at play here? A. Metaphor, B. Simile, C. Hyperbole, D. Personification. The correct answer, of course, is personification. the attribution of a personal nature or human characteristics to something non-human, or the representation of an abstract quality in human form. This line actually contains some very subtle personification. The horse might be acting perturbed or confused by his rider's unexpected change in routine, but he certainly isn't actually mulling the event over in his mind like a human being or thinking it queer. Horses do not have the ability to think that something is not okay, to think that something is queer, because that is basically a human quality. So this is giving human qualities to to something non-human. In this case, the horse, his horse, right? So the correct answer is personification. In that case, Frost actually uses some slight personification by framing the horse's actions with subtly human characteristics.